Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everyone doing?
Can you hear everyone? All right. Let me make sure that I chat. We're good. Can everyone hear us? Good morning, Reaper family.
Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
There might be a little bit of a delay. We'll see. Good morning. Morning. There we go. All right.
Nice people. There they are.
Yay! I've got I'm watching chat through my phone, so I've got a little bit of a delay. I want to make sure I can see everyone and say hi. Who's excited? Bittersweet last day of ReaperCon, but hopefully we go out on a bang, right? See everyone. Hi, friends.
Yes.
Yes. All right. So, hopefully stream is going well. Not choppy or anything. I am Zambies if you don't know me, and I have the lovely
Mike Disney. Hello. Hello.
coffee doesn't kick in yet. Hello. All right. So what we're going to be doing today is this is a panel for freehand and concepting. So we're going to talk about our concept process, coming up with designs and things to freehand on paper first, and then we're going to be moving to minis. This is about going 2D first and applying that to 3D. So kind of a little bit of some information. If you don't know, Mike Disney and I are illustrators, and we also really love to do illustration streams together. So we were going to talk about and show some of the illustrations we have come up with and how we apply those 2D skills to our miniatures. What do you got for us, Mike?
I am showing off some of our last illustration streams here. This is one that I did. We did one where we took the theme was a lyric from a song. So, and I wanted to go over one that I had a lot of trouble with because I didn't know exactly what to draw, how I wanted to explain the lyric through pen and paper. How do I explain? Through illustration. Sorry. Wow, words are hard. So like I didn't know how to pose my guy here, and I didn't know what other elements to put in. So obviously I took what I could from the song and started working out in little silhouettes is what I do first. So I will take my work and I'll start drawing little stick figures, if you will. And I wanted to see where I could get with what I could come out with in a blob form, I guess you could say. And that helped me really find what I wanted to do with this illustration, because I had a hard time. It took me all day to come out with just how to pose this to get the flow of it. So, and then I started adding the other elements of the song to the pose. So it was a tough process for me on this one, but perseverance, shoved through, and we got the picture done, and this ended up being one of the best streams I think we had done together. So
Yeah, definitely. And that goes to show that it's a little intimidating sometimes when you just have a blank piece of paper and you don't know where to start. But if you keep pushing yourself and keep going with it, you could end up with something you absolutely love.
And working it out, like I said, with silhouettes, if you really play around and just do stick figures, it does help out. That's usually how I start, is I'll just start scribbling down stuff, to see what works, you know, and it might not make sense to somebody else looking, but it makes sense to you because you know, you can see in your mind's eye exactly what you're putting down. Like, okay, I like this pose here. Let's take this and start rendering this out. So we'll take that, move it over here, and then just start sketching what we want this to look like, you know, putting down our little lines here that's going to make up our dude, you know, and then maybe his arms on a countertop over here. You know, just start feeling it out. And of course, this isn't even going to be our final drawing. We're just going to move it to another sheet of paper after that. We just want to start feeling out the paper. And that's pretty much, you know, how I get all of my designs. This, you know, and this was another themed illustration. I believe this was one of our very last ones right here, where we did cyberpunk. I think it was, Zambies.
Yep, we did our D&D characters as cyberpunk.
Yeah, futuristic. So, and this was another one I had a lot of hard time with. I didn't know how to pose them. I didn't know, you know, I didn't want to use just a regular static pose, and that's exactly what I ended up doing anyway. But I put a big scene behind him, so you know, and you know, it worked out. So it depends on where you want to go. Just start feeling it out, but sketch your stuff out. Do quick sketches. You know, that's really what helps me out the most, is just getting my hand moving, you know, knowing that I have to get this done first off, and then getting my hand moving and starting to think about it, looking on Pinterest for reference, anything that will feed the inspiration and the creative train. You know, that's what we want to do.
Exactly. And another thing is, it's not only do I say always start out with a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, whatever you want to draw with, a marker, who cares? Hopefully not blood, but you know. And think about it. If you have, say you have a mini in front of you as well, and you're like, okay, I want to do something on this this trim here, or a lot of people freehand on cloth. I want to do a pattern. So it's just like, sketch out little patterns, little designs, how you want things. Get your hand in the motion of doing those. And then, yeah, like, oh, the flowers, the shower curtain. Get into the motion of doing that and get those motor skills through just something a little bit easier as a piece of paper and a pencil. I find is obviously easier than trying to work with paint on a brush, but once you get those fine motor skills of doing that, it helps you with your brush control. So, and that's also another thing, is if you are into building bases and you want layout and composition, so you can just think about, okay, I have my little pirate mouseling here. And as you can see, you know, little sketch designs do not need to be anything amazing.
That's right.
This is just like, okay, I have this guy and he's got this awesome sword here. As you can tell, I can kind of draw. You don't need to make this Picasso. You're just sketching out to get a general idea for your brain of where it is. But say I want to have him on a really cool base. So think about where you want to lay him out. Think about your structure. Maybe you want a treasure chest over here. Okay. Oh, you're concepting. You're thinking about the overall. And the best way to do that is, you have all these images in your head, is to actually lay it out visually so you can see where everything is. And you can be like, okay, maybe I don't like this here. Maybe I want to move it over here. Think about it there, and then start building, and then start painting and all of that. So I'm gonna look at chat too, because this is a panel. We want to hear from you guys as well if you have questions or anything like that. Do I even sketch in ink? Yes, I do. So most of these, I do like a line illustration for. Let me see if I can find that. A basic outline in pencil, and then all of these little details I just do in ink. I kind of let my mind flow. Let me see, I don't think I have. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this was the original sketch for this character. And I did this part in pencil to basically get the outline of what I wanted, everything. And then I did the rest just in ink. What song sparked the illustration? This song for this one is a Tool song. I'm trying, now I forget. Oh, Ugly. And then Mike's song was Clutch. What was this song?
Space Grass.
Space Grass.
By Clutch.
By Clutch. Where do I get my inspiration? The crazy thoughts in my head. Everyday life. A lot of times I can see something, maybe like it's a little lizard, and then I think about what it could be, and I'm like, that lizard has really cool face structure. What if this lizard was a dragon, you know? And then pull it from there. Or emotions. You like, this is a song. You listen to a song, you dissect some of the words, and you're like, how do I visualize that? Megan has a question for you, Mike. Can you teach someone to draw while sketching backwards without looking?
That wasn't a question. That's a call out. It was what that was. We did that already. It was not easy, but yes, we did do that. I can show you the sketch right here. We did that on Blue Box RPG. He challenged me because I said anybody can draw, and it's true. Anybody can draw. You just have to be able to take the time and do it, and hone it. But this we did backwards on
the Overgourd.
Blue Box RPG. And to teach them how to draw, because he said he's never drawn, and by the end of the stream he had, you know, him and about 10 other people with overgourds drawn. Then we did a contest for them, and yeah, so they learned how to draw by simply doing the overgourd, and it's true. It's all it is circles, squiggly lines, connect them. That's it. You just have to find it in your head and do it on paper. Anybody can draw, you know. You just got to know how to deconstruct something and then put it back together on paper.
Everything is breaking it down to basic shapes. Helps
That's right.
you. Like a face.
Basic primitives is all it is.
Circle.
That's right. Yeah.
Outline. Circle. Circle. You start with the basic shape. Everyone learns how to draw like that. Even people who do comic book art, everything. Everyone starts with basic shapes. And then you tone in the detail. It's just like base painting, your base coating, and then your tiny little details go on afterwards. You're refining everything. So Pendrake asked, how do you transfer one sheet to the next? So most people, if you can afford one, I don't have one just because I haven't bought one, but I used to use them, is light tables. And that's like the biggest thing. If you don't have a light table, if it is daytime out, I usually just tape my piece of paper to a window and then lay the top over it. And what that does is the light shines through the piece of paper and you can see what's underneath. So I'll do my initial sketch, I'll put it on a light table, put a piece of paper over it, I'll outline what I want to keep from that sketch in ink, and then all the other details I just fill in with ink afterwards. Yep, the glass door, yeah. Alright, Canadian Gecko, what's something with creating art you had to learn the hard way that you wish someone told you sooner? I gotta think about that one.
That is a tough question.
Yeah.
this is what I'm showing right now. These were all just shape exercises. This is another thing for concepting. If you're trying to find something that you want to create, you know, mostly I work on concepts from what other people want me to draw for them. But just working on stuff that you want to create, start with shapes. And these were not faces. These were all just basic shapes I drew with a sketch pencil. And then I looked at them all and I saw heads. So I drew different heads with all of them. This is a great exercise to do if you're feeling blocked and you don't know, you know, what to draw. Actually, you know, just draw a bunch of circles, different amoebas, if you will, and then just go crazy. Fill in what you see. It's like seeing clouds in the sky, you know. If you can pick shapes out of the clouds in the sky, you should be able to draw.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the basic things that comes to mind for that question is, like I was saying when drawing like a little sketch or anything, is most like when you're painting as well, sometimes you have what you call like the ugly stage. I think not sometimes, all the time, but you look at it. Yeah, you look at it and you're like, oh man, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Or you always tell people, just wait, hold on till the end when you pull everything together. It's kind of the same thing as drawing. As a lot of people go into it and they draw one thing and they're like, oh man, I can't draw. And even as you said, like you've seen some of my work, this doesn't look like a masterpiece. Sketching and just getting into those exercises, not everything you draw is going to be a work of art. And it's just to get you into that motion. So I think we are a little critical of ourselves sometimes when a lot of people are like, I can't draw. I'm not an artist. And it's like, have you tried? Do you keep repeatedly doing it? Because exactly. I always say that drawing, some people have this ability to just draw really well right away, and some people can be taught that over time, but you have to just keep applying and working with it. Practice is key. The more you do something, the better you're gonna get at it. You gotta flex those muscles, you know. And I truly believe that if you draw, just, it doesn't have to be amazing, just get in the motion of that those skills will help you, I believe, with your brush control and all of that. And if you want to get into freehand with mini painting, like 2D art can translate into 3D art.
Absolutely. It honestly, it's all just knowing shadows. I mean, once you learn your basic shapes and your anatomy, start doing, you know, studying your light, then go into your colors if you want to, you know, but just have fun. That's the main important thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny. Someone said a light table is a clear glass casserole dish with a phone flashlight underneath. I've never tried that, but now I want to. That's actually good.
It's a great trick right there.
That's a good one. Let's see. What do we have here? Is there anything else you wanted to show off for the illustration? I know someone mentioned the autumn dragon.
Yeah, put that up.
Do you have your dragon?
I sure do.
Yes. So this is some of you have seen this, where and Mike has it overgored. We definitely want to show that.
Which one? I've got several versions now. We've got 4 different versions.
Do you have the original, you know? that is becoming the mini?
I have the OG. He is somewhere.
Yeah. So this is another thing about different skill sets all applying. So I have a concept that was an illustration stream that Mike Disney and I did. Then we had a 3D sculptor, Valendar, sculpt it and create it into a mini, and then we both got to paint it. So you just think about all those basic skills that go into every other aspect and every other mediums of art.
This is the true original. This is the
True.
one that started on stream. His birthday is coming up on the 4th of October, by the way, everybody. And he wasn't even called the Overgore back then because, of course, we didn't have the poll. It was just Pumpkin Beholder. And this was the third sketch that we did on October 4th. And this is what the stream told me to draw. That's how we came up with the concept for the Overgore, because I used the stream for Inktober for my cue list. And it started looking good, and this is what it turned out to be. And now I think everybody knows who the Overgore is and about the big gourd energy, but inspiration can come from anywhere. To go back to Canadian Gecko's question, get your friends. I mean, that's how this guy was born, inspired by Twitch chat. It's exactly how this guy was born, and look where he is now. So drag it.
Gimli says you should rename him Pumpkin Spice.
No, but I do believe when Reaper opens up their pizza place, they should have a latte or some kind of pumpkin coffee or something and call it the Big Gourd Energy Drink. I do believe that.
That's
they're
coined that. Yeah. So taking off of that, want to get into like some freehanding. We do have like Magic the Gathering cards on the list of things to talk about. I know that Mike doesn't do that, but it doesn't matter because it's all illustration. All I'm doing is putting it on a card. So I don't know if anyone out there plays Magic, alters their cards or anything, but just give an example. I use... what?
You wanted to see the Winter Dragon as well?
Oh, yeah. There it is.
Sorry, I went on about the Overgore.
No, that's fine. There it is. I did want to mention that I use my Reaper paints not only for minis, but also for altering Magic cards. And it's pretty much freehanding painting, but on tiny surfaces. But instead of a model like this, I do it on a card as well. This is an example of freehanding on a Cloak mini. If you can do it on here, you can do it on here. You just need to pay attention to the curves of the mini and how to wrap things around. But like I said, basic skills keep going. So I was just going to do a quick demonstration of Reaper paints on how you can see how they look and how to apply them on flat surfaces, the same as 3D surfaces. So Mike, if you wanted to, you can show off some of your other illustrations, or...
Yep, we can do that, and I can watch chat for you too and answer any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah.
But yep, if you guys have any questions, what do we got going on here? Squigs. Yeah, I also have used Reaper paints for doing all of my little pet portraits and stuff that I've done, and I know you guys have seen those before.
Ooh, I want to see them.
These are all Reaper paints. So Reaper paints this is not finished material. So, but Reaper paints are great for canvas work too, guys. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
They're acrylics.
Yeah, they're acrylics. So they're beautiful. Here's all just black and white, So Zambies doing the cards. I don't do the cards. I've never gone into that area because a customer has never asked me to do anything like that. But I do pet portraits, and they are done solely with Reaper paints.
So I'm going to take a little bit of this desert sky here because I am painting the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland, and this card, sometimes I just do the middle portion, sometimes I do the whole card. This is a forest card, so I'm going to do the forest scene in Alice in Wonderland, and this is just going to be a base coat So we're just gonna lay down some, and then we're gonna build up layers on top of it. And when I lay down the pen on this, I'm expecting to paint over it. So this is just kind of like coloring in the lines right away for your illustration to get the base coats down. And then working upon that, because you will go back later and then you will do the outline.
They're incredible to use. Now, I've never used them on flat board or card, so I can imagine how nice, except like on a palette. So I can imagine how nice that they really because all of this is textured canvas, so
Yeah, you've got that
yeah, so it sucks up the paint real quick, but you can see it that the result is it works.
Yep. They're just, thinned down. Obviously, for miniatures, you want those layers. Acrylics, they flow a lot better than your standard, like, heavy body paints, obviously. But I think they work nice for this.
That's why you don't do expensive cards, you know what I mean? And find, if you do get an expensive card, make sure it's a friend. Say, oh yeah, sure, I'll watch it. Oh wow. Excuse me. Woo.
Get a drink of water.
Corona.
Oh, you're fine.
And then here's another version of the Overgourd here, which somebody wanted an isometric version for Dungeons and Dragons, and so
that's beautiful.
This version up and colored it in with Copics, but this took a minute too to get the the way I wanted him to look. So I had to do several different ways here. But I do like the way he eventually turned out. A lot of people actually like this design better than the original one.
I do like that one. I think he's very it pops with the white. It's high contrast.
Exactly, Coos. Well, that's it. That's what he's meant to be, is just like a one shot, returning a recurring Halloween character, if you will, kind of like the Headless Horseman in that other game that we don't talk about.
That other game. The thing.
What's that game? What's it called?
I may have to get the Overgourd tattooed on me.
Oh,
that's
if you
awesome.
do, you better tag me and let me know. And here's another version of the Overgourd we did here. This was our very last illustrative stream. We did, this theme was memories. So we've got the Overgourd here. We've got the Winter Dragon. We've got our Dungeons and Dragons dice because we love that. Then we've got, the juicy triple cheeseburger with the fries. That's right. And then we've got the one, the only Reaper right there. We got the outside because that is definitely one of the best memories right there. If anybody's been to the Reaper store, they know what this is right here. Yep. Jalapeno mixed in. I don't know. That would be something else though. But you guys need to start a petition and get that into their
Wait, jalapeno in the coffee drink?
Oh man, you want to talk about burn.
That's gonna have some nasty heartburn.
And you got little Zambies right here coming over to draw with Mike Disney. So this was another one. This one really didn't take too much thinking on the concept or on the design process, because we have a lot of good memories. The only hard part about this was picking which ones to choose, so and Zambies picked some really wonderful ones. I love your memories. That I
Um,
honestly, out of all the ones, that's the one I want to paint the most that you did.
I need to
I want to paint
finish
that.
that one. That one's here. We have so many.
But it was
Oh,
amazing.
this goes into concepting. The hag. Creating characters and designing. Remember that lady?
That is right. That is the lady who summoned the said Overgord.
We have that
The
one
man.
over here. So many illustrations.
But yeah, we have done a lot of doing the themed, like every illustration stream that we did was themed. So it was, each one was an exercise itself to come up with something that made sense with what we were doing. And I'm not really like used to that, deep thinking kind of process. And I think that's where Zambies definitely shines very much so, because she's more of a deep thinker like that, and you had an easier time coming up with your pieces than I did for a lot of things, I think. So and I was envious of that right there, because every time I saw it I was like, wow, man, how gorgeous is that? That just very beautiful work that you've put in. And then this was something that I've done recently. This is for one of the viewers out there, actually, Canadian Gecko. This is she told me that she liked I forget what kind of gecko it is. So I looked it up, used reference, wanted to get a pose for it, and found a gecko in the perfect pose, and then just added some different shapes behind it.
It's the prettiest hag I've ever seen. Yeah, but that was the point. That it was like her first form.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so I added some corporal shadow to this, and I'm going to thin it down a tiny bit, and then show some blending. So I'm not going to paint this whole card. I just wanted to show a little bit of
Hey, thank you,
how I
Bill
use
Roberts.
them.
How are you guys doing today anyway? Happy ReaperCon to you. I hope you all had a great weekend. I know I did. So many talented people, so much knowledge to suck in. If we could only stay awake during the whole thing, right, guys? That was just amazing. I think my favorite panel was the sculpting panel. And lots of just, man, you guys out there in the community, you really are amazing people. The artists, the viewers, the people supporting, it's just it's amazing. And Reaper, thank you so much for having us on and holding this con live, because the way that the way everything is right now, I think a lot of people needed this. So it was definitely well needed, and thank you guys very much, because it was awesome, and it still is awesome. Having a great weekend.
I agree.
And thank you to all the other artists and people that contributed out there during ReaperCon. You guys mean a lot to all of us. So that's where I get inspiration, is from all of you creative people. So keep it up, please. Thank you. Because without yous, I'm not going to do any of this. That's for sure.
It was nice because I am fortunately haven't been to a ReaperCon before this, and I was really looking forward to going. And I think that it was still a really fun, good time, even though it's not in person. But that just means next year it's
Yeah.
gonna be even bigger, because then I can run around and annoy everyone in person.
Yeah, this is Liquid Nebula. This is the Corgazilla. This corgi is actually, I know you guys all know who Holly Monster is. So
Yeah.
this is actually modeled after Holly Monster's Appa. So, and this is my D&D character Skarn, and the Corgazilla is actually a small kaiju. So it's the smallest kaiju. Yep, the Korgazilla. And the only way it's a chaotic good kaiju. They run in packs, and the only way you can tame it is by Zambies. How's the only way that you can tame a Korgazilla?
You boop it on the snoot.
You boop the snoot. That's right. That's the only, and that's exactly what Skarn is ready to do. This Korgazilla just wants to play. You see, so and Skarn ain't having it. He's not having it, and the snoot is ready to get booped. All corgis. That's right. That's right, Princess Zelda. It's a chaotic good Korgazilla. They're the smallest of the kaiju, but they do run in packs. They can be tamed. They work for us. They're the good kaiju. They're kind of like Godzilla's, except way smaller and cute.
And cute.
And
Wait, Godzilla's
no
cute.
weapon.
Godzilla can be cute.
Well, yeah, this Godzilla can be cute. Where is he? I've got him somewhere here.
Okay, I need to
I've got a little chibi Godzilla. This is the Godzilla that can be cute.
That is a cute little chibi one.
This is the Godzilla that can be cute.
I need to attend.
All other Godzillas are terrifying.
Right? Muse's Touch. Attending this year, I'm convinced I need to attend ReaperCon in person in the future. Exactly, that's what I'm feeling. I feel like, imagine all these people who came in, like, digitally, and now we're all like, yes!
Mm-hmm.
Next year, I'm gonna see you in person.
Like, this is definitely, like, Justin, are you still there? Can we ask you a question?
As long as he's
Mike.
not
What
being...
are you guys anticipating if all of this blows over for ReaperCon next year? Is it? I mean, do you think you're going to have to get a bigger property to hold it on? Because I think it's going to be. I think attendance is going to be a lot more people than what it was the last year. What do you guys think about? Have you talked about it?
No, we did talk about how there was a distinct possibility that we outgrew our contract with the hotel, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, and there is, like, we, based on our attendance last year, we were like, whoa, right? It was crazy. And we have definitely discussed it. We haven't made any big decisions yet, because I think we're going to still do now there's lots of rooms and stuff we can open up there to hopefully expand and get through the contract before we have to find our own place. I know Ed and Dave joked around with saying that we were going to build our own building and or find one and buy it and just have it be our building. But I mean, we'll see if that actually happens.
Right. Well, that's good to know. I know that not being there this year, that was rough. That was rough. But because you guys did this, it meant so much. You see in the chat, it meant a lot to everybody. So it was, and the one thing I miss most of all is Fort Wapple. I mean, that's the be all end all right there of Reaper. I mean, there's so many good things, but the Fort Wapple is definitely something that's worth the visit, right, Justin? I mean, it's always fun over there.
Oh yeah, and it helps too that he is a phenomenal painter. I
mean,
the stuff even too that you see, like when we've rated him basically every night.
Camera doesn't do it justice, does it?
Yeah, and Collins actually messaged me. He was like, "Do you see what Wapple's painting right now? It's insane."
Yeah.
By the way, Collins is in the background, so if you guys.
Hey, Collins, hello. How you doing? MC in the hizzy, and Wapple also painted. This is the dragon that Zambi illustrated.
Oh my god, I want what he did. It's so beautiful. I want to ask him if he'll give it to me.
Yep, Wapple painted his version, and I painted this. This is in oils actually, and his obviously is extremely better than mine. But yeah, it was. This is the miniature that Zambies designed. It started off with the illustration, and then Valendar sculpted it, and then I printed it out, and James Wapple has painted one. Yeah. I've painted two. Zambies has painted one. Eenie Meenies has painted one. Who else is painting?
Sam has one, but he hasn't. He'll paint it whenever he wants to.
Sam Lenz will be painting one. So, but yep, we painted. I did a co-stream with Wobble, and we painted this because he loves Asian style dragons. And so, you know, I asked Zambies and Val if I could send one out to him, and he was ecstatic and painted it up, and we did a co-stream with it, and his looks amazing. I wonder if somebody could actually find a picture of his in
it's in the VODs. Yeah. You'd have to find it in the VODs.
This is just an example. And the reason why I'm showing you guys this is that this is an example where your concept art can lead you, you know, and it didn't even, all it started out as was just a simple idea between two friends to do on a stream. And again, like the Overgourd, look where this landed. It's in miniature form. It's painted. Everybody loves it. I haven't seen one person that didn't like this mini so far. So it's a beautifully designed mini. And I mean, that's just one of the things you can do with your artwork if you keep at it, you know.
So I have a question for the audience out there, all your viewers. I want to know, because I know obviously I'm doing a magic card right now with my Reaper paints, and you say you've done canvas. Has anyone used the Reaper paints for anything else besides minis? And I want to know what, because I want to know what creative things people have come up with.
I'd like to know too. I wouldn't mind using it on some woodworking. I'd like to know if somebody has done that, you know.
Yeah.
Like wood plaques or anything like that. Star Wars props. All right. Right on. What kind of props? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's what we did. You know what? You guys need to pop that stuff in the Reaper Discord and on the Facebook page too.
Yeah.
Not just what you use your Reaper paints on miniature wise, but you should always pop in what you use your Reaper paints on, period. Because I mean, they want to see this. That's important to them, you know?
Door blaster.
Dungeon tiles, droids, nice. Clay terrain work, nice.
Stickers and labels for boxes.
Melon, you're not supposed to paint kitties' noses, okay? That's not how this works, all right? Noses from kitties are not for painting, Melon.
Inking my wife's handmade dice. That's kind of cool.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. And for dice too, I'd like to know how does that, because I mean that paint's going to be going through some stuff right there, you know, if you're using it for dice. So how is it holding up after you seal it, and how are you sealing the paint to make it last if you're painting dice?
It's definitely got to be a varnish, like a good varnish on there.
It has to be a bullet coat, you know, a couple coats of gloss varnish and then a matte over top. Is that how you're doing it? But
Sidway.
No buts.
Did you read this one? I'm not sure. How do you go from 2D drawings to someone sculpting? That is the fun thing, is if you think about, you have a concept, an idea in your head. So right now it's just this like image floating around, nothing visual. So you draw it out. You create something visual, tangible, you can see. Then I'm not a sculptor, but someone who is a 3D sculptor can see this, and they have the basic form. Mike sculpts. You're in ZBrush, I believe you use. Is that what you use?
Yeah, I do traditional too, though.
Yeah. So you have this basic form and the shapes. So now what you need to do is you create kind of that and your 3D forms, all of it. And then I think Mike can better explain of how he takes something that is 2D and molds it 3D. If you want to kind of like just talk about a basic process there. How you envision it.
Well, with ZBrush, you can put it into a little thing called Spotlight, and it takes your artwork and kind of silhouettes it and puts it up into a corner over here. And then here's your work area. Okay, let's just draw this out. Here's
Yeah,
your
draw
work
it.
area. And then here is like your silhouette, but you can take that silhouette and move it up behind your work. And just what I do is I'll start off with primitives, just like what I'm doing here. I'll start off with primitives and start planning out, see how I started off with the shapes. That's what I do in ZBrush. I'll start off with the shapes in little blobs, and I'll try to match the blobs with my silhouette of my drawing, my concept art up here first, and then I will go in and start adding the details and fleshing it out that way. But I'm really still super, 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 super new at ZBrush, but that is the same process I use when I'm doing any bits. I'll always draw it out, even freehanding paint on cloth, like with the shower curtain guy here. I drew this whole pattern out on piece of paper and planned it out before I painted it. So, everything is should be planned. You don't want to just go in and dry it, but I mean, Wapple does that all the time. But we see Wapple there's something in his water.
Well, you think about it, like how long has Wapple been painting? How often does he paint? It all goes with the same thing as, like I've said, you're flexing those muscles. You're doing it so often that it becomes a second nature. It's the same thing with drawing. I think that everyone should. I don't even follow this advice as much lately because I know life is busy and all that. But I think that if you have an idea, even just a simple little doodle, sketch it out, have it down there, because I feel like the more you can visualize something and it's not just this floating thing in your head, the more likely you are to bring it to life. It's the same thing with a mini too. So you have this idea for a mini and you're not sure about colors. A lot of people ask this question. Does this color go with this? You could paint it on the mini and see if it works, but sometimes I will literally just grab a piece of paper and I have colored pencils or marker, or even take your paints and paint it out on that paper and see how they react next to each other and whether or not you like them together. And then that kind of saves you a step to see, okay, now I'm going to the mini and I don't like this red, but this green. I'm going to change it and I'm going to use purple, and now you're going to that mini and you have a clear concept. Like, just plan out your colors, plan out where you want things. You could wing it and have fun, but if you have this idea, like, it all goes back to that concept. Just get everything down there and kind of lay it out.
Yep. Get loose with it, play it, roadmap out your stuff. You know what I mean? That's why it's good to use. Like, I never use a pencil this dark when I'm sketching. Like, hey Melite, how are you doing? Good morning to you, you beautiful person. The only reason why I'm using a dark pencil right now is to just show you guys pretty much how I start sketching out stuff. I'll just start doing loose shapes, guys. That's it. Loose shapes. That's what you start doing. If you get too involved with details right off the bat, you'll lose yourself. Get your shape, get your pose, your flow out first, and then go back. It's the same with sculpting. Then go back and really work on your details. Say, ooh, this would look cool, and you will see that your design will go much, much, much further if you're a little bit more patient to put the details in at first and just flesh out your whole concept first, and then go in and really start rendering your details, flesh them out, make them yours, add those. You've got your primitives down. Now it's start putting those little lines in that create the rest of your detail. Then go in and maybe start planning out where your light's gonna hit, and that, there's a lot to it, but the basic first steps of planning out anything is to get your silhouette and your form down before you start adding your details.
Exactly. So so you can see this started out plain, and I have now base coated, started adding shadows, highlights, and everything. I'm just doing this area here. So does anyone have any questions? Like, what do they struggle on in freehand? I want to know, like, what is the tough thing? Are you hesitant to freehand on a mini? Why? Like, because I would like to like demonstrate some stuff or try to help you guys out, make you feel more confident to just go in there and try it.
Appropriate scaling in freehand.
And that kind of goes down to those basic shapes as well. So like you're doing a face. A lot of people, where's my piece of paper? For a skull. Here we go. So move this over. And I don't have my pencil. Oh, there it is. Haha. All right. So all faces, some are more round, some are more narrow, but you're basically starting out with a shape. Now, this is just very loose, like I'm saying. Oh man, that's glare. But you can refine it and get better. So you have your head. So what you do a lot with like proportions and scaling is kind of plan out. You call like your T for your face, your basic shape. All right, and you make all those marks. And you can even do this on a mini with the paint as a very thin layer. So if you're painting a skull or something, you know, thin little layer, make those little points where everything's going to be, and then connect them. So we all know eyes are going to be here, nose will be here, mouth will be here. Like I said, this is very exaggerated, but some people's chins are longer, some people's faces are wider, some are round and all that, but we all start out with the basic shapes right there. Some people have more spacing here. And another thing is, most of the time, if you're worried about your eyes being far apart, measure your eye length, how long you want your eye, and put another space in between both of those eyes. So you have two eyes, the space in between here, not always, but a good way to start is you have one eye length is how much space you have in between where the front of your, where your eye starts from that point.
That's right. And remember, when you're creating stylized characters, of course, not all these rules apply, but still some of the basic stuff does. You know what I mean? Like your ear placement. The top of your ear should go right where your eye line is, and the bottom of your ear should go right where the bottom of your nose is. You know, these are basic things.
Yep. Usually your mouth will be about where the middle of your eye is, the tips. So if you think about where your lips are, if you run upward, those are about where the middle of my eye is.
Yep. And right in between the nose and the chin.
Yep. So you go down to here. This is where like you kind of end the tips of your lips. Like I said, some people have bigger lips, some don't, but these are basic general, like getting the placement for where everything is. And then it's like your nose usually ends around where kind of the beginning of your eye is. Some people come out a little further. Some people have longer areas. It's all, but these are, you start out with those shape and proportions and then move on. And it's just like if you break down the body in little measurements, you think about how long this is. Your torso, use your torso as a measurement. Always use something as a measurement and then go off of there. Like I said, your eyes. If you use your eyes as a measurement, measure everything else on your face as that eye. Okay, I think. Oh, my phone kind of went out. I don't know if I missed chat or any questions. Hopefully not. Dang you, screensaver.
When I started drawing, you thought it was going to be a rubber ducky. Well, I'm glad that you saw that. Awesome. Thank you. It kind of looks like a rubber ducky, huh?
I'm gonna do like a basic. I would do a little happy little skull. And a round out here. As you can see, you start with something and you're like, that doesn't seem right. Build upon it. Always build upon it. Let's say you want it rough little sketch here, but like a skull. Not this door. Yeah, curves and stuff. For me, it would just be geometric design, no drawing skills. How do you get the design on the mini before you paint it? Okay, so I can kind of start with something like this. If this is, here we go. So for this design, painted on here, I basically just drew on a piece of paper, and then I took like black paint, or you can do white paint, and I basically just did the outline of the design how I wanted it, and then I built upon that and just kept building up the layers and paint. So it's like I sketched on the mini with my paintbrush and a black paint as if it was a pen or a pencil, and I didn't worry about it being perfect right away. I just wanted to get the proportions and the lines and where I wanted everything before I started building upon that. And as you can see, it's darker on the outside. I want it kind of like that dark outline. The best way to do that is to build upon your thicker black layers and then do your color inside, so you have less cleanup work to get those fine lines, and you're just kind of filling in. It's easier to fill in than it is to outline everything very thin if you don't have like a very steady hand. That was displaced. The same thing for this is not done, but ooh, that's not gonna focus, is it? Okay, so I have a little, as you can see how tiny that is. I was doing a Blackhawks symbol on there, and that's really tiny. But right now I just based out the colors, and the black outline was already there, and then I can go back in and fill up all those little points and kind of build those layers. How do you deal with mistakes? Don't throw your brush and your mini across the floor.
Yeah, that's not very intuitive. That's for
sure. Take a breather and just think, all right, it's just paint. Like, worst comes to worst, you'll have to strip a mini and start over. But most of the time, if you bump a line or it goes this way, like say I went that way and I didn't want it there, take your blue, paint over it, fix it. You know, it's not the end of the world, because it is just paint and you can paint over it. You don't like something? All right. Your line isn't as clean? Just keep working on it. Keep practicing, keep toning it in, trying to get back into there. Happy little accidents will happen. How do you account for the folds in the cloth when freehanding a designer piece of cloth? Most of the time, what I will do is you'll draw on a piece of paper, and then you lay this down and you'll try to draw, or you try to like paint on top of it. And when you go over those bumps, just kind of think about where that is going to go. You still want, just don't move your brush and then like stop and then try to connect. I feel it's better to just allow your brush to fold over it and naturally like follow those lines. But if you have like really big, like up here you have deep bumps and obviously it's going to go here and your line's actually going to go underneath it, the best way to do is to look for reference material and study how cloth moves and how your design is actually going to go up. And then if it's tucked under, okay, so my line will fold this way and then it'll come out this way, if that makes sense. Let's see. A good way to sketch this out. So you have a cloth here and you have like a fun little curvy line running this way. Obviously, if it folds under, the line might come more like this when you see it if the pattern is moving down this way. So like I said, I would sketch it out, see what looks good, see how cloth actually reacts, the same with how it reacts with light and where you want your light source and all of that, and then see how that fold is and how deep this fold is. Because if this fold isn't that deep, then the distortion of this pattern isn't going to be that heavy. But if your fold is like overlapped very high, then your pattern line as it comes down this way will curve and be further out, depending on which way the fabric is folded, if that makes sense.
That's what I do when I'm doing my fabric, though. I sketch it out on paper first. Plan out the design. It's way easier.
Yeah, just take into account of how big your creases are and which direction you want everything to flow into. If the fabric flows this way, your pattern's going downward, you have more distortion down. If your pattern's going this way and the fabric isn't that thick, then yeah, it's going to go up a little, but you're not going to have a heavy like wave in your lines.
That's what I did for this one. See how the flower, but it's cut off because it's got a little bit of a wave right there. You know, there's really not a lot of folds in this one, so it was kind of easy. This one up here was where, you know, ran into a little bit of issues, but it wasn't that hard. This is where it was. So this one's cut off because it's totally folded. This one's cut off because it's totally folded. You know, you just got to plan it out to cut off right here because it's folded in, cut off right there because it's folded in. So really there's only, you know, you see there's a lot of freehand on this, but there's really only a few places you really have to worry about how you're going to alter it. And it doesn't take that much of a guesswork behind it. You know what I mean? Zambies explained it the best she could right there. And it's pretty much straightforward. You know, just look at the anatomy of what you're trying to put it on, sketch it out, think about it in your head. You know, if you really want to, go look at cloth with that has a pattern on it and fold it in different ways and look at it like that. See that, you know, look up Pinterest, look up, you know, designs over cloth.
Yeah, our fold's pretty forgiving. Depending on your fold, I would out of context. I would think so, because I mean, like sometimes we tend to overthink things, and especially with fabric and the way it folds, it's not always like perfect. So if you have something off a little bit and it's not like, oh my god, this is not exactly at a 90-degree angle and it's not this point, nobody's really gonna notice, especially when you have a mini and it's so far away. Try to be just in that ballpark of realism. Yeah, I love that one.
Like this, I mean, it's not fabric, but this wasn't planned out. I just went in there and pretty much painted the whole thing blue, then faded some of the blues underneath, and then went in with very, very thin down black and just started creating swirls where, you know, I thought they would look good. And then went in, fixed it, fleshed it out, went back with the blue, touched up a couple of spots, but you know, this was not planned, but that's a very rare thing where I do that. I won't plan something out, you know. So
Mini painting studio. What happens when you need to paint folds inside of folds with a folded brush?
That's what I was laughing about. This guy right here. Mini paint.
I've never used a folded brush. They do have curved brushes that help you get into tiny like areas that are hard to reach. But yeah. Oh man. First off, I'm a brush licker, so if my bristles go a little crazy, just get them back into place. I know that's like a controversial thing. Some people are for it, some people aren't, but
yep, I don't lick brush. Very rarely do I lick the brushes. But yeah, I know that a lot of people, that's how they get their points back. I just use the wetness of my wet palette and do it that way, or a paper towel, you know, try to get it past. I don't have any issues. Folds on folds on folds.
Do your folds even have folds, bro?
It is unavoidable.
As long as you change your paint water. Oh yeah. See, I dump this every night. Every time I'm done with the paint session, I get fresh water. I have a paper towel that I have here. So when I clean my brush, I wipe it off, then I lick it. My brush is clean. Reaper's paints, I'm not saying you should drink them. Please don't open the bottle and just have at it. But they are non-toxic. They are okay if you get a little paint in your mouth. It's fine. Justin's probably like, please don't tell people to do that. I am not speaking for Reaper here, but I do know that they will not kill you. The paint is harmless. Doesn't mean it's food safe. Yeah, don't go bake a cake and then paint it with your Reaper paints. Please don't do that.
Russ Brown tastes like cow tails. You're gross. You're gross. You holdy folds, you foldy holders. That's a crazy man right there. Mini painting studio. It's another man. It's another very, very talented painter.
Tastes pretty bad. I actually don't taste anything with Reaper paints. I think Reaper paints are the least tasting paints I have ever tasted. That doesn't sound right. I don't drink my paints, but I don't think they taste like anything personally.
Hey guys, give me 1 second. I just need a restroom break. Please forgive me.
No problem.
I'll put the overboard here for you guys to enjoy while I use the restroom. Please.
Better cake decorating. Make it makeup sponge. So far, highly recommend it. Yeah. I do the same. I have not on me actually because I clean them off. But I have makeup, like beauty sponges are usually what they're called if you like, I think the makeup sponge is a general term, but if you look for them on Amazon or something, the like little square ones, beauty sponges, I know Wapple uses them as well, especially with oils. They're very good for oils. I also have makeup brushes that I use a lot for dry brushing and adding like bases, texture paints, anything like that. I use makeup brushes for them. Oh, Justin, yeah. Well, you might not hear Justin a lot right now because he's probably like crying in a corner because of the construction going on right now. You probably can't hear anything. I hope you're still there and okay, Justin. Great. No. Dead tired, yeah. But still you don't like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like just to reiterate, don't eat your paint. Alright, so yeah, what I'm doing right now, like I said before with the the magic cards, and a lot of freehand once you get your base down is kind of coloring in the lines. I've always find that if you do your outline first, block out that shape, and then fill in the paint, it kind of gives you a bumper. And I don't really care if I paint over this middle section here, because like I said, I'm going to come back in with a bluish black and outline all of that. But yeah, more uses for blue liner. What if it's cheese? Oh no, we've started this topic. You just assume he's trimming his toenails. What? No, I don't think Justin's ignoring me on purpose. It's probably way too loud. When we started the call, there was just heavy construction in the background. He's probably can't hear anything right now.
All right, I am back.
Yay! Oh god, you guys. That's nasty. So yeah, are there any other questions about like illustration, concepting? I would say concepting, but concepts. Yeah. Concepting. Just anything you struggle with, like kind of freehand wise. I'm just gonna put a base here down, and then I'm gonna pull this guy out, little black crumb, and I'm gonna do a trim on his coat.
Is there any kind of you guys been doing any freehand projects lately? What have you guys been doing that you've been enjoying or struggling with, or want to share? You know, what? Tell me a story. Tell me a good illustrative story.
It's story time.
He floats like Orko.
How do you deal with artist block? Ooh.
Get your hand moving.
Yeah.
Start drawing anything. That's what I do.
Yeah. Sometimes you're staring at your minis and you sit down to paint and you don't know what to paint and you're just sitting there and you're trying to force it. And that's not going to work. So what I actually would suggest is leaving. Like if you sit there and you can't do it. Get away from your desk. Take a breather. Go on a walk. Drink some water. I don't know. Just refresh yourself and get yourself in that mindset. And then try to think about other things that will inspire you. You know, if you go on a walk, look at nature. Look how things are. Study a piece of wood, it sounds funny, like a tree. Look at everything in there. See if you find inspiration in some things and kind of get your mind jogging. Because sometimes if you sit and stare at a mini that's been giving you trouble, you're just going to drive yourself insane. You need to take yourself out of that situation and come back with a clear mindset, a fresh and renewed sense of self. Or protect the artwork cards after you're done. So what you can do is, I don't have any on hand at the moment, is it's a Winsor Newton, it's a varnish spray in a can. And when you're all done with it, shake it up and basically give it a good seal coat spraying. And then I always keep mine in a little protector. Let me see if I missed any other questions. Took the free.
That's it. That's what I do. Anything to keep my hands busy. If you sit there long enough and play around, like just take a piece of clay and start messing around with the clay. Take an action figure. If you got something like that, start messing around with that, put it in a pose, draw that. There's so many things that you can do to get that creative juices flowing. Go watch one of your favorite cartoons. Something, go watch the thing that gets you going in the first place. That's another thing.
Exactly. Movie, read a story, think about a character,
Pinterest,
a
really
set.
good thing.
Yeah, I can get lost on Pinterest. There's
Yep.
a question, Melite, how do you make sure freehand looks like it belongs on the model, isn't just a sticker, tattoo, fabric? That is when you basically, like, the bigger models isn't as hard of, but when you have smaller models, think about the shading and the lighting on that model. I have a little marine here. I'm working on the end here, but your top part, when I get this, the top part of this is going to be a little shinier. The bottom part where the shadows are going to be a little bit darker. So when you're doing a design, just like you would on the mini, take into effect your light sources, take into effect if you have weathering or any other elements going on, rust, all of that. Add them to your freehand to make it more cohesive and a part of it, so it's not just like a sticker slapped on there. Because you can put decals on there if you want, but it's gonna look like decals unless you also apply the same texture elements, all of that lighting to that as well, so that it becomes more part of the mini.
Motor City Ray, what exercises do you recommend to promote steady hands? My issue is shakes when lining. Well, you were in the Army. I don't know if they ever taught you how to breathe when you're on the rifle range, but when you go to make a line, this is what I do. Obviously I brace my hands, but when I'm drawing or going to make a line or doing line or freehand or anything like that, yeah, take a deep breath, and then right before you go to make that line, breathe it all out. You'll steady yourself. Don't hold your breath. Remember, breathe. And that's a pretty good thing for making straight lines. And another technique for making straight lines is going from, let me get a piece of paper, going from top to bottom instead of bottom to top or side to side. And I'll demonstrate.
That's
Top to
actually a
bottom.
good point. I should get a piece of paper for that, or I'll just go right
here. Straighter lines every time, top to bottom.
I'm gonna get a bigger brush.
You go bottom to top, you're gonna get all kinds of curviness. I mean, some people that's the way. See my line, they're not fluent. These are a little, but they're way straighter. So, and then side to side, that's just not comfortable. So another good way is and find your line too. You got to hold your miniature to where you're going to be comfortable making that line, and if you do, go make lines like this, I see a lot of people do it and they do fine, but the most standard way to make a straight line is, first off, breathe out right before you do it, and then top to bottom, and find your line. Don't just use your wrist, use your arm. There's no reason why you are, use what you have.
So what?
Sorry, words are hard.
What Mike's doing is actually brings up a good point. Oops, I'm so sorry about that.
Alarm.
Brings up a really good point that I do want to make up. Is, so I just have a craft brush just kind of beat up here, but a lot of things with freehand, some people do is you'll like load up your brush and then your pressure is probably your downfall. You have to know, when I do freehand, I don't add more than that usually. when I'm doing thin lines. It's just the tip of your brush, and I usually use a bigger brush because this end here holds a lot more water. It's got a thicker base, and as long as it comes to a nice pointy tip, it's not gonna dry out as fast as the smaller brushes. But another thing too is, if you ever notice, same thing, crayons, pencils, or anything, you go to the side. If you try to paint with the side of your tip, unless you're going around the edge. So I'm going to just grab a mini here. What do I have? Do I have a blank?
Bill Robertson has a point too. Longer bristle brushes for doing lines is like essential almost.
Mm-hmm.
They're amazing, especially good ones. They got a good snap to them and hold your point. Take care of your brushes too, people. It's a good thing.
I'm just gonna so if you go around the rim of something here, that's one thing. But if you're just going, I'm afraid to look at chat right now. If you're going to the side, it's the same.
There's no construction. I heard what you said earlier, Zambies.
Oh, okay.
Briefly, at least.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so just a little bit of paint and your pressure. I'm gonna find a way to. Here, I'll just paint up here so you guys can see. This is the best way to kind of show you, I guess, is when you're doing a line, you just want to gently, if you're doing a really fine line, you just want to gently touch it. And sometimes if you see me paint and I'll go like this over and over again and I'm not even touching it, it's because I just want to barely touch the surface to get that really fine line. And it's all about pressure. Because if you're going to be pressing harder, you see the line. It's going to be thicker.
Yep, exactly what Mini Paint Studio said.
All right, I'm going to see. There was another question and
if you load your brush properly, that paint will last forever. If you load your brush properly, you can use just like what Mini Paint Studio said. You can use it just like a pen.
Yep,
you know,
that's what I do.
Especially if you got a good point, remember pens and all that. People were using brushes to write with long before we were using pens and stuff. So, just got to get back into the habit of training ourselves, pressure in brush control. That's all it is, in proper loading of your brush, to be honest. I think that could be a whole panel in itself, is proper loading of your brush and wet palette techniques. It's a huge thing that I think a lot of people have issues with and stops a lot of people from furthering their skills as a painter, because they're just not properly using their brushes right.
Oh, and
Jade Sakita, how you doing?
My browser reset, so I lost everything. If there were any questions, I kind of missed them. But the last thing I wanted about that steadying your hand is, when I'm painting on stream, it's a little bit different than when I'm painting myself, because I have to be under this camera so you guys can see it. But usually I kind of have this system where my hands are on the desk to pressure of, don't press too hard because then you get shaky. But like Mike was saying with breathing, everything, but I put my hands on the desk and I try to position myself and everything in a good posture. Try not to lean too much, but that totally happens. Another thing is, if I'm painting around a mini and I have to get in there, let me back up. I use my fingers back here to kind of hold, hoister my hands to steady when I'm doing a very fine line, because it's all about trying to basically not be in the air floating. You're gonna be wobbly. So you think about that. Like when I'm drawing too, my hand is on the desk, fully on the desk, and then drawing. So the only motions I have are like in here. It makes you less shaky. And a lot of the times I say when I'm doing a line, I'm like, oh, I'm not breathing. I am breathing, but like Mike said, yeah, you take a deep breath, you let it out, and then don't just be like, just relax and think about that little line, you know. Okay, yeah, I might have missed some questions, so if we didn't say anything, did you see any, Mike?
No.
Or Justin?
Nope.
Okay.
Just people saying hi, pretty much referring and adding to what you're saying, and that's pretty much it.
Paper and a brush, and write your own name. Yeah, look at Lisa too. Paper, flat surfaces. This is why I'm doing like a magic card right now. If you think about it, it's just like a paper canvas. Doing designs like this, which are obviously smaller scale, helps you then eventually just translate 2D to 3D. Dealing with the shakes. Oh, look at that. Sorry, I had to laugh about the Mentos. Yeah, I know. It was my first mini holder ever. Everyone's got these proper mini holders, and I literally use Mentos gum containers because you can weigh them down inside if you want. But you buy it, you get the gum inside instead of wasting the plastic. It makes a good mini holder.
And see here, guys, I wanted to set an example of how, you know, just loading your brush properly, you can use it just like a pen. See how I loaded it up and put very little paint. There's actually too much paint on the end, but it's okay. It's lasting. It's not drying up, you know, and I've made several lines with just one brush load so far. I mean, literally, I've made almost every line except for 2 on this mini so far. So proper loading of your brush really, really makes a difference and can make your life a lot easier on what you're doing. And see, look at all those beautiful little squiggly lines we're putting on Captain D20 here from Reaper Miniatures. I love these little dice guys. What are they called again, Justin? What are these guys called? Come on, chat. You know what they're called?
Dice Heroes? Is that what they are?
Dice Heroes?
The
Yeah,
Dice
I've got
Heroes. Yeah.
I've got this
High
guy
rollers,
here.
Sorry, they're the high rollers.
The high rollers.
rollers.
That's it. That's it. The high rollers. So that's it. That's it. You just practice. It doesn't take that much. And thank you, Mini Paint Studio, for pointing that out, because that's something that we should have went over and didn't think of.
Well, we're still getting in there. One thing I do want to point out with the brush control and everything, if you notice what Mike's doing with his mini and creating like those feathering strokes, it's the same thing as anyone's ever done calligraphy. And how you move the pen is how much more ink you get flowing, and when it comes to a point, it's the same thing. When you lay your brush down, gentle, there, the paint's finally touching, you press harder, you get a thicker line.
That's right.
And then as you bring it up lightly, I didn't, my paint started to dry because I live in Florida and the humidity is awful. I have to be more careful. But as you go and you slowly start to bring it up, you see how finer your line is coming? We can come back down there a little bit, yeah. So it's all about loading that brush. And
trash.
I always say pressure is key. Lightly touch it, get finer line, more you get a thicker line, bring it up slowly, tapering. And that's one thing that I've learned a lot with, you can apply to highlights, because a lot of times you will highlight something and if you want a little spot here, but if you notice, highlights aren't just like bam, one little line. They taper at the end and they feather out. So it's kind of like a gradient. You will have less of the highlight this way, and the highlight main, I'm thinking of a word, opacity, like the brightest point will be here, and then there'll be a little bit coming out this way, like the sheen. Consistent line thickness is so difficult. Yep, it's practice. Yeah, and sometimes it's the same thing with me too. Like
everything is practice, guys.
You're gonna go this way.
You have to practice to get it down. There's no, unless you're a genius like Wapple, there's no overnighting it, nothing. And you guys didn't see, and Wapple will tell you this himself, you don't see all the mistakes in the hours and the hours and the hours that he's put into it to get where he is. You know, so practice makes perfect, guys. Just keep, you know, if you're not happy with how your brush is being loaded, well, keep practicing on loading your brush. Simple as that.
Not only that, like everyone's going to make a mistake as well. It's not always going to be perfect right away. So you just fix it. It's just paint.
In mistakes, you don't look at mistakes as bad things. You look at mistakes as a learning experience and move on. You know, say, okay, this is what I did. And if you're having trouble learning what you did wrong, write it down. You know, keep a little Bible next to you or a little diary of your painting journey. You know, what you're doing wrong. Keep another good thing is keeping your recipes in a little diary next to you, your paint recipes, what has helped you get past certain humps. Keep going back and looking at that. That gives you inspiration. So I keep this here by me, guys. And what it is a little, I keep notes on everything. And all it is a little cards right here. This is what I keep on my desk. Is just little notes to help me with my painting, and these are, I've had those forever. So I try to write down everything. Look at it as a science experiment. You know, everything is just an experiment to get you further. No, he doesn't make mistakes.
Mr. Disney, you see what I keep all my recipes in?
No, what is it? Let me see. I'm sorry.
I got sent a little overboard notebook.
Who sent you that? That's lovely.
But I write down like I even have some I doodle in everything. But yeah, I have like, what paint did I use for things?
Is that not, that's a cool little notebook though, isn't it?
Yes.
And what better thing to keep your paint Bible in right there. So yeah. But yeah, guys, any other questions? This is fun. I like going over the freehanding stuff because we're able to, and really, thanks again for bringing that up, Mini Paint Studio, because knowing how to load your brush and use your wet palette properly, somebody really does need to do a panel on that. It is key to this. Honestly, it really is.
So I kind of want to like, I'll do that then. I'm gonna do mistake here. So that's how much paint I have on this brush, which is, I don't know what size this is. This is size 1. Okay, so I have this line here. Now I'm gonna get nasty with this brush.
Oh.
All right, so this is what some mistakes can be. Do you see how much paint is on there and how far up it is? And then you can see that tip. That's not like, it was a fine tip, but now that you have all that paint on there, it's kind of caked. Yep. So then even if I try to lay that pressure, yeah, you get a line, but look at how much you get versus, all right, now let me clean this off. No, I think Mini Den is after us. He's doing a
comic book art.
Comic book art
style.
It's painting. Coming up. You didn't miss it. So then just on the tip, you see how a finer line you get then. It's more controlled too, because yes, I did very gently here, but if I wasn't careful and I loaded up this brush like that, see?
Yeah, and see, I just did an example right here of doing a line, how I told you guys not to do it, and I got a curve in it. That's why I don't do lines like that. so much easier to get fine lines. Remember your breathing and just go right down from top to bottom.
And
And
if
I can
you
move so much faster too, going like that. And I know that I'm more confident with it. It's really on you guys finding your line.
just keep practicing. Also, another thing, if you think about it as like cooking, anyone out there cooks, think about it as if, what's the golden rule? You can always add more salt, but it's a lot harder to take it away. So do those fine little lines if it's not as like opaque. If you want it more vibrant, you can just keep going over it and getting those lines there versus, oh, now I made a really big thick line and I have to go back and tone it down. It's better to just start small and expand on it. Applies to gaming too. Oh, with your wet palette, yeah. Funny thing, I know people have different types of wet palettes, and mine's right here, so I can kind of show you mine real fast if that's while Mike is doing these amazing lines. But
well, this is my hot mess of a wet palette. So
I'm just using this right now for a wet palette, but when I actually paint, my wet palette is actually an old pencil tin. You don't have to go and buy a fancy wet palette if you don't want.
Nope, you can make one at home with a sponge, piece of parchment paper, and a little Tupperware dish. Just make sure that the parchment paper is smaller than the brush on all, or smaller than the sponge on all sides, and you're golden.
So I have right here, I know this isn't really part of it, but you guys keep asking questions, and since it's here, I will just let you know. This is a old Prismacolor tin. Yes, this won't last forever because it's metal. Tin will rust eventually, but it's got a coating on it. I suggest more Tupperware if you're using. Plastic is better, but here's the key that I've said. It's wet palette. You want it wet. A lot of people don't add enough water. And me, I always have to replenish this as I'm painting because of the climate I live in. Some people are a little bit more forgiving. It will stay wet. The humidity and everything I have in my climate, things dry a lot faster. So I'll show you this end here. You see all that water in there? Now I don't want the water up on top of here, but I want it floating. So I just have a few layers of paper towels. You can use a sponge, thin sponge if you want, whatever you want. But I just use the paper towels, and then I have a sheet of parchment paper. It's parchment, not wax paper. You don't want to coat it. And I put that right in the middle, and I lay it down. It will come back up and fold, but eventually it will lay flat. And then I just put my paint on top of there and make sure that I keep it airtight. And now I'm gonna see if I missed any questions. Why do you keep doing that phone? No! This is the bad part about the phone. I lost chat again. If I missed anything.
Oh no, you lost chat again.
I know.
No.
Alright, so that was...
But yeah, guys, I'm just demoing some freehand designs, and you can see if you do keep your brush properly loaded and with the right amount of paint, you can use it for a very extended amount of time, and that helps keep your workflow going, to be honest.
Yeah. So I lost chat, but I just saw Mrs. McSpaz say something about being in Houston and having a hard time keeping your wet palette wet.
Yep,
I do too.
Keep water. You know, certain climes you're gonna have a lot. I used to live in South Florida, so down in West Palm Beach, and let me tell you, Florida is very humid, and things get freaking they evaporate like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's exactly, and humidifiers are a huge thing for Florida in humid climes. Huge thing. They will help you out so much. So much. Yep. It's too hot, but get a humidifier. It does help out. Put it in the room that you're painting in, obviously. Don't put it in the living room or the other room, or it's not going to help you. You know, suck that humidity out of the air. Keep your wet palette. What's the key word again?
Wet.
Wet. Thank you. And go to town. Enjoy it. The second you start getting stressed out, guess what? It's not worth it anymore.
I have a fun saying that I like to say. I know this might spark some controversy, but moist is for cakes, wet is for palettes.
That's right.
Keep your wet palette wet, not moist. You want the bottom of soaking. You don't need the water on top. Don't put the water on top. But underneath, you want it floating like a boat.
Leave Zambies to bring food into the matter.
I always bring food into the matter.
Why? Well,
because food is food is life.
The spice of life.
The life must require food. I like food. Don't shame me. I get stressed too easily, and I need to remember that. Yeah, it's just paint, guys. Just remember that it's not gonna look amazing the first time you do something. I mean, if you nail something the first time you do it, that's awesome. But don't expect to. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just experiment and have fun. And the more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah, and just because you nailed something the first time doesn't mean that means you might have gotten lucky. So don't think that you're going to be a pro on it the second time around. You know what I mean? Because there's been several times still to this day where I pick up the paintbrush in the morning and I'm like, holy cow, I got to relearn everything I've ever done.
And you'll have some bad days.
Painting like I'm painting with my toes is what it is.
Yeah, you'll have bad days. Don't let that get you down. Alright. Morning. Sweet question. Should there be excess water around the sponge in the container? Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Yep.
Yeah. Mine, like you saw the edges, you can see the water floating around in there. Yeah, you can. I have mine in the center because I have noticed that if I go all the way to the edges of my wet palette, I sometimes don't remember to add more water in there. I think there's more than there is, and then it'll start to dry because I live in a very hot climate. So when I can see the water around the edges, I can see the water level, and I know when I need to add more to keep that area wet. So that's just kind of like self-conscious for me, a reminder, because I'm a spacey fish and I need my reminders. But it's all up to you. What exactly is floating? It's not really floating because you have that, I guess if you have a sponge, it might float a little, but I have a paper towel. It doesn't really float per se.
Shouldn't. The sponge should soak up the water and sink to the bottom.
But it's like, I say it's kind of floating because it's like an island. It's all surrounded by water and there's water all underneath it and everything. So... I mean, you could. I mean, I've seen some people who have theirs kind of surfacing a little, but yeah.
That's right. Happy Labor Day.
Reaper stream without food talk doesn't exist. My kind of stream.
You get a shallow Tupperware dish, sandwich dish, a sponge, and then a piece of parchment paper, baking paper, and you cut the baking paper to at least a 1/2 inch smaller than the sponge on all sides, and there you go. And then fill that little dish up with water to where it's not overflowing over the sponge. Make sure the sponge is saturated. Keep water in that dish at all time. Then put your parchment paper over the sponge, wet it on both sides. Use a little card or business card or something to flatten out the paper, and then go to town, baby.
Yep.
Go to town.
And
barbecue tofu, get out of here.
Like I said, I have a tin. I'll lift it. Hopefully, then it's not very thick. You can see, but using like a plastic Tupperware. I have one here, but this one isn't using for wet palette. This is storing minis in it. But you're gonna want one probably smaller. You can use a bigger one if you want, but just remember it's gonna add more air in there if you have a thicker one. You just have a smaller one. I don't use a sponge, I use paper towel. It's your preference. I change my wet palette enough that the paper towel is fine. But I just do, so you have your paper towel, and I just do about 4 foldovers worth of paper towels. And then rip that off, put it on the bottom of your wet palette, pour the water in, and then see if you need more or less. You want it to soak, let it soak in for a few seconds, minute. Drain a little bit if it's too much. You don't want it like over the paper towels, but you want it to be in there, and then put the parchment paper on top. It's going to curl. Let it sit for a moment. It will eventually just flatten back out. If there's any excess water on top, just dab it away. Getting too hunched over and getting backs. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. Now, as a streamer, when I'm painting, like I said, you're sitting here painting your mini. I'm usually like this. That's not how I paint when I'm not streaming, because I don't need to be over a camera. When I'm painting by myself, I have like my arms on the desk, my hands kind of like this, locked in, and I'm painting like this in my face right here. I'm bringing the mini up to me and kind of keeping my back straight. What I would suggest is if you can raise your desk higher, or if you have a standing desk, something like that, bring your table up closer to your chest area and around there. That way you don't have to lean. It's kind of bringing the mini towards you more, if that makes sense. What's the point or benefit of a wet palette? As you can tell right here, this is probably my climate. These paints that I put on at the start of the stream are dry. They're done. I have fans on and AC because it's almost 90 degrees where I am right now. This stuff is dry. Your paint is going to dry. That's all wasted paint. On my wet palette, on the other hand, these paints I squirted on here Saturday. So these paints are here from Saturday. And all I do is, I'm gonna take my palette knife, and I am just going to stir them back up a little bit. You can do for any one of these. Let's say, actually I'm using like a bluish green, so I'll stir this one back up. I might have mixed a little bit of water in here because I was jiggling this wet palette out, so I did kind of thin this one a little bit. But now that paint's still good. If I want to take it over here, like I said, this one is thinned because I'm using it on a mini, but I should have used a thicker one. Maybe this red over here is going to be easier to see. You see, that paint's still good. You can't see it at all because I have a black piece of paper here. Don't worry.
The benefit is to keep your wet paint. Yeah, keep your paint nice and moist to where you can go back, especially if you're working on a model where you're doing some wet blending or anything like that. Your paint doesn't get spoiled. You know, it doesn't dry out. You know, it's to save on your paint and to help you with other techniques. I mean, really using a wet palette, your skill as a painter will improve, just for the simple fact is that your paint will always be there, and you'll be able to apply it to more techniques too, instead of using a dry palette. You're constantly fighting to keep it wet. You know, it's a battle.
Yeah, I know that like Anne uses like her ceramic one, but she has a wet towel and stuff. It's different. It keeps it still moist, so it's a different type. But generally, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you're not working against the clock. All this paint isn't wasted. If you paint for a long period of time, you're sitting down, your paint's still good. If you're like, oh, I gotta come back tomorrow, and then your paint's still good, you know?
I wanted to let you guys know it's a 10-minute warning.
All right.
Alrighty. Thank you very much,
good.
Justin.
Let me see if there are any other questions and we can wrap up. Yeah, that's another thing. I haven't actually used it, but I've heard a lot of people say that the paper that comes with wet palettes aren't as good as parchment paper. So I can't give my professional opinion on that because I haven't used it, but I use parchment paper all the time.
I've used both. I don't see a difference, to be honest with you. So I use red grass wet palettes. I think they're awesome. Good morning. How you doing, Paint Miniatures? Yeah, I really don't see a difference in it. It just keep your wet palette nice and wet. That's the thing, you know.
Yeah, wetting one side, turning it over, and wetting both sides takes out the curl.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I've done that too, but then you have to dry off the top.
I don't dry it off. I just leave it. I do that before I paste it down to my sponge, and
Okay.
then when I take the card and wipe the excess water, that's pretty much how I dry off my top. I like to leave it a little bit moist. That way the paint gets a little bit extra water on it. You know what I mean? Because I paint with really thin down stuff most of the time. Like right now, I'm painting with paint that's way thicker than I'm used to painting. So
that's coming out really nice, like the flames.
I want you guys to see. Thank you very much. Like I said, we're just doing simple freehand and demonstration of the lines because it seems where everybody's questions were leading. And I really like that Mini Painting Studio came in and made it a point about how to load your brush, because honestly, that is, to me, that has a lot to do with it. And I think that's what people find that they have a lot of issues with is their brush control and the way how much paint is actually on their brush. Because if you're sitting there and having to reload your brush after every stroke, that gets frustrating, and it takes the fun right out of painting real quick. So one thing that I think you guys really need to work on if you're having issues with it is really you're loading your brush and how to keep paint on your brush without drying up. And I would love to see a panel on somebody going over wet palette usage and so on and so forth. Like Josh would be great for that, I think.
All right, so the last question before we wrap up is the Armor Painter wet palette something you guys recommend? I have never used it. Like I said, I have do it yourself, make your own wet palettes. I don't want to recommend something I've never used. So if anyone else has used it, want to give their 2 cents into that. But personally, you know, hearing stories from people, I feel like you can get by with just a Tupperware tin.
Oh, you can totally get by. I had a Tupperware tin for the longest time. It works just fine. So, and yes, we both do kit courts. Both of us stream.
Yes. So to big thank you to everyone who came out for this. If you have any other questions, at the top of the screen, Mike and I have our socials, as well as if you click our names, you can find me at Zambies. I'm on Twitch. Mike is Art of Mike Disney. Feel free to ask us. We will be out there.
Yep.
We are real human beings who can talk to us.
Yep. Once again, before we take off, I just really, really, really want to thank Reaper, Ed, Dave, Ron, John, Justin. You're a hero, Justin. You've been doing an incredible job with modding everybody, and man, you are one of the hardest workers I know out there for Reaper, and you're a great guy. I've met you, I've shaken your hand. You're good people. But seriously, thank you to Reaper and the rest of you guys out there behind the scenes making this happen and doing this for us, holding this convention and having this for all of us at home, giving us a place to go this weekend and to let out all of our frustrations through watching creativity and learning something and being with our friends. It's just, you guys are amazing, and I love you. I know Zambies does, and the rest of this community. You mean a lot to us. So thank you so much for everything you do. And here's to many, many, many more ReaperCons. I am looking forward to being a part of every single one of them for as long as I can. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you guys very much. This was a fantastic show. Might I add, by the way, because everyone behind the scenes was watching it. Y'all's illustrative ability is absolutely insane.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to the both of us. We enjoy doing it, and we love doing it for you guys. So
I believe the comment was, "You guys have more talent in y'all's pinkies than we have in this entire room." In here. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you guys. Thank you. It's an honor doing this, and it's always great fun being involved with anything that you guys have going on. So
Exactly. So if you guys take anything away from this, just pick up a piece of paper, start drawing, see where it leads you, right?
that's it.
Don't be afraid to
creative.
try freehand.
That's right. And if you want to see something, create it. That's it.
Alright, bye everyone. Enjoy the rest of ReaperCon.
Bye bye, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Love you guys. Take care.